Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the GM. It's your guy, Boulanger. Up next, we're going to be talking about the Patrick Queen situation in Baltimore. That being, excuse me, the Baltimore Ravens declining to pick up his fifth-year option. We're going to talk about what it means for the Ravens, for Queen, and whether they should move him now, later, or much later. And we're also going to be identifying two potential landing spots for Queen. All right, let's go. So, as you guys have heard me talk about, probably 2 out of the last 5 videos is Patrick Queen departing the Baltimore Ravens. Not because I want him to depart, just because that looks like what the signaling was. Eric DeCosta was uncommittal about his fifth-year option. Now we understand why he was uncommittal. They weren't going to pick it up. Um, we had certainly heard trade rumors going into the draft. And then we saw them draft Trenton Simpson, which is a guy that I said would be a great replacement for Patrick Queen if they traded him draft night or day 2. And so we were kind of ahead of the whole scenario, but I'm sad to see that we're here. Okay. And so what does it mean for the Baltimore Ravens? I think it means they have to get their rookie linebacker up to speed quickly. Okay. Trenton Simpson does have NFL skill. He has NFL speed, NFL size, and NFL intelligence. So getting him adjusted to the NFL game should be a problem, but sometimes rookies do indeed have problems. So I think that's what it means for the Baltimore Ravens. I think that they have to do that in mini camps. I think they have to do that in OTAs. I think they have to do that in training camp. I think that he needs to be prepared and ready to go as a day 1 starter at the open of the season. Okay. And here's why. What does it mean for Patrick Queen? I think Patrick Queen is certainly going to be on a new team within the next 12 months. That seems to be pretty obvious. I think Patrick Queen maybe getting the short end of the stick here because he certainly has improved over the last couple of years as a ball player. He has elite level talent, and I think that this was going to be another big year for him. But I think with this information, one, getting your replacement drafted on Saturday, and then 2, not having your fifth-year option picked up, I think that could certainly cause him to be uninspired. You see, underneath the helmet and the pads are humans. And sometimes I think we take that for granted that they should just go out there and ball because they make millions of dollars. But there is a human element to Patrick Queen. And if somebody told me, basically, not in words, but in action, that they didn't really want me, that they were drafting my replacement, I probably would want to be moved sooner than later so I can be a part of a team who wants me rather than a team that doesn't want me. I get it. It is the nature of the business. So don't even put that in the comment section that, oh, it's just business. No, I understand that. But sometimes business doesn't make sense. And this business doesn't make sense simply because you had Thursday and or Friday to move Queen and have an immediate impact on your roster. Okay. Yes, they do have his replacement, right? In Trent Simpson. I get that. But if they could have flipped Queen for a second and a fifth, maybe a first, but surely a second and a fifth or a second and a sixth, then that would have added more depth to the roster because you would have had 2 additional draft picks. And so I don't think it makes much sense to have let the draft gone by, decline his fifth-year option, and then really let him play out. If they decide to let him play out the season, that he walks for nothing. So now you're not even in control of your compensation for Queen. You know, are we really going to let a first round pick, a guy who is inching towards Pro Bowl status? Are we really going to let that walk for a third round compensatory pick? See, that doesn't make sense. See, I don't want to hear nothing about, well, they can get a pick for him. That don't mean nothing. A third round compensatory pick that you can't cash in on for basically 2 years, because he would have to play out this season. Then you get the compensatory pick the following draft. So that's basically 2 years. That don't mean nothing. If they had to trade him this past weekend, Thursday or Friday, you get instant return on investment. Okay. So now to the dilemma: do you trade him now, later, or much later? So now would be between today and prior to training camp. Okay. That's what I mean by now, because that means more immediate. Later would be at the mid-season trade deadline, and then much later is letting him walk at the end of the season. Okay. I believe they should trade him now, between today and basically the end of July. And here's why. If they trade him, they do have a little more control over what they receive in compensation. That's number one. Number two, you don't set your defense up to play with Queen if he's going to be moved mid-season. Okay. Number three, Queen could certainly come in uninspired, because he's taken a lot of hits since he's been in Baltimore. He's taken a lot of scrutiny for missing tackles or not being good in pass coverage. And despite his continual year-by-year progression. And then he was tagged with the with the label that Roquan made him, whereas he was improving and playing very well before Roquan Smith got there. Okay. Now, did he shine even more when Roquan got there? Certainly. Certainly. But here's the deal. You had to look at who his running mate was, right? He's an above adequate running mate for Roquan Smith. But the guys that were playing with him are either was Josh Bynes, who is out of his prime, or Malik Harrison, who has not really broke into rotation at all. So so maybe his progress was slowed by who he was playing with. Nevertheless, you know what I'm saying? I tend to ride for certain players because of their situations, and I'm definitely gonna ride for Patrick Queen. So I think they should move him now. Okay. And then a fifth reason why they should move him now is so that they can go ahead and move Trenton Simpson into that starting role and start getting his mind prepared to be a starter versus a rotational piece, or a guy who can come in relief to spell Roquan or Patrick Queen. Okay. And so mid-season, I don't think a mid-season trade makes much sense, because Queen would have already become acclimated to playing in the Ravens system, and the Ravens would have already become acclimated to having Queen in the middle beside Roquan. So a mid-season trade, they may get more value mid-season, but I think that trading him now is still the better option. And I certainly don't think letting him play out the season and walk in free agency next year is the right option. Okay, so that's my idea. So let me know what you guys think about that. Do they trade him now, meaning between now and start of training camp? Do they trade him mid-season, or do they wait, let him play it out, and let him walk in free agency, receiving only a third round pick in compensation? Okay, so if they trade him, let me tell you, I'm gonna give you two landing spots and a bonus, and I think that these three teams are super logical for a Patrick Queen landing spot. So the first place destination I would say would be the New York Giants, because the New York Giants defensive coordinator is Wink Martindale. Well, who would know Patrick Queen and his ability better than Wink Martindale? So I think that would be one logical landing spot for Patrick Queen. I think he would already know the system. I think he would hit the ground running up there in New York, and that would get him out of the AFC. Okay. So I don't really want to play against an inspired Patrick Queen if we move on from him um, this offseason. Okay, so that's the first landing spot. I think another landing spot, which is logical, is also in the NFC East, and that's with the Washington Commanders. The Washington Commanders are always trying to build that defensive front. And I think that because they declined Chase Young's fifth-year option, I think that they may be preparing to move on from Chase Young. In fact, a sneaky good trade is Patrick Queen for Chase Young. They both don't have a fifth-year option. They both drafted in the same year. We need edge rush help. They need linebacker upgrade. I think that would be a nice switcheroo. I get it. Chase Young was the #1 overall pick, but he's been hurt a lot, and so which I think is what led to them not picking up his fifth-year option. So I certainly think that would be a sneaky good trade. Okay. Patrick Queen for Chase Young. That's just me living in fantasy. I know that's not going to happen, but I do believe that the Washington Commanders would be a good landing spot for Patrick Queen. And then a bonus destination would be the San Francisco 49ers. And then here's why. The San Francisco 49ers could pair Patrick Queen with Fred Warner, and they could form the best linebacking duo possibly in the NFL. As their offense is going to take a step back this year, I believe they're going to need even more on the defensive side of the ball. And so I think they could come and get Patrick Queen with no problem, plug him right in, and he would go out there to San Francisco and be successful. And that would also, all three of these teams would take him out of the AFC. So let me know what you guys want me to know, man. Who do you guys think would be a good fit for Patrick Queen? And do you think they should move him now, later, or much later? Now, but that's between now and training camp. Later would be mid-season, and much later is letting him walk in free agency next year. Listen, I'm your guy Boulanger. This is the GM, and I'm out.